Hey everyone, welcome to Royce Reports. I'm your host, Royce, and on this channel, we talk mostly Xbox-related news, but I do dabble in other gaming-related topics and reviews, so if you think you might be interested in that, be sure to slap that subscribe button. And today, we're going to be talking about some comments that Jim Ryan made about whether or not he thinks Game Pass is a true competitor, and so maybe we should talk about whether or not he should actually be afraid of it. So with that, let's talk about it. So picture this. You wake up Christmas morning, you go downstairs, you open up your gifts, and you get an Xbox Series S or an Xbox Series X, and you're super excited, and your parents go and hand you some Game Pass, and they're like, go ahead, Jimmy, go be free and go have fun with your games. And while you're setting up your Xbox, you open up Twitter and you're just looking through it, and you find that Jim Ryan is saying that he doesn't see Xbox as a true competitor. So you run back down to your dad and you say, hey dad, can you please stop drinking for half a second and please stop beating me? But I need to tell you this. I want to share my feelings about this, which is Jim Ryan doesn't think Xbox or Game Pass is a true competitor. And then little Jimmy's dad's going to look at him in the eyes and say, I hate you. We are getting a divorce and it's all your fault. So imagine that, right? And that's exactly what happened to me just yesterday, or just the other day on Christmas Day, was seeing this news, which is pretty interesting. So Jim Ryan actually came out and commented in a disclosed location, and there's rumors of what he's been saying behind closed doors. So let's just get into it. Sony Interactive Entertainment CEO reportedly dismissed Game Pass as competition. His statements have more than one conflict with earlier reports and estimated numbers. Quote, when we consider Game Pass, we've sold more PlayStation 5s in 2 years than they have gathered subscribers, and they've been doing that for 6 to 7 years, end quote. Ryan reportedly said during a Q&A employee session held earlier this month. He also supposedly added that, quote, Sony is just shy of 50 million subscribers, and they are in the low 20s, but there's more work to do to grow that number, end quote. So that is a very interesting statement. And now this is all behind closed doors, so this is not him saying it out in a public setting. I don't know who could actually make sure that this is actually true, but we're gonna run it with it as if it is true. So there's something wrong with this already, right? And I want to confront this right off the bat, which is he's comparing PlayStation 5 consoles sold to the amount of subscribers gained in Game Pass. That is literally like comparing apples and oranges. It's just a complete different beast. So of course you should be getting more consoles sold than you have subscribers. That only makes sense. Not only that, but PlayStation 5 is one of the most looked forward to pieces of electronics that people are trying to get their hands on. So of course they're going to be selling out. And they say 25 million sold, but Xbox Series X and S is also sold around that 20 million mark. So that's something that you should be comparing it to, but you're also comparing it to a subscription service, something that is not a requirement. You do not need to go out and grab Xbox Game Pass in order to run your Xbox. It is a optional thing. Now, PlayStation 5 is an essential thing that you need going forward into gaming to continue to play the games that you love, like FIFA, Call of Duty, Madden, 2K. All the single player exclusive that PlayStation has and owns is on that console. So it is considered an essential for gaming and for gaming purposes. I mean, obviously not an essential in the grand scheme of things, but for gaming purposes, it is. So obviously you're going to have more growth on your consoles sold than you are going to have with Game Pass, which is so weird to me why they would use that as a way of trying to trash talk Game Pass. But this is also another thing, is that he is downplaying Game Pass to the people that he works with, when it's like the exact opposite was said during the FTC and CMA responses that Sony had to them. which they said Ryan's statement could also be seen as conflicting with Sony's own response to the CMA statement, in which it is explicitly said that Sony is concerned that a significant number of PlayStation users would likely switch to Xbox and or Game Pass following Xbox's acquisition of Activision Blizzard and the Call of Duty IP. Moreover, Sony believes that empowering the position of Microsoft's subscription and cloud services, which are described as leading and well-established, could lead to a number of harmful repercussions on the gaming industry down the road, such as weakening the negotiation position of independent developers, as well as hindering innovation due to lack of competition. So this is kind of weird that you'd go and say that to them, but when it comes back to your own personal group of people, you're going to say that, hey, like, look, I just lied. We don't really give two fucks about Game Pass, which is odd because all the evidence is there to say otherwise. And what I mean by that is you look at what they have done because of Game Pass. Game Pass is this huge new thing that people are starting to get into. And I don't know if you've heard of it, but they are mimicking Xbox on that front. They revamped PlayStation Network completely and entirely to mimic what Game Pass provides, which is all those games that you get on your service. And so now they have restructured their own service to be more like Game Pass. And on top of that, you're also barring games from getting into the service. So they've barred things like Resident Evil Village, and now there's rumors that they've actually barred things like Call of Duty from entering the Game Pass machine, which is why you probably haven't seen any of the older Call of Duties actually enter Game Pass and only entered PlayStation Plus. So it seems like you're trying to cut them off at the legs before they could actually start the race. And if you actually do not fear them, then why should you be so loud about them not getting this Activision Blizzard deal if it doesn't mean anything to you? And why are you making it to where people are not allowed to place their games on Game Pass? And why are you mimicking their service in its entirety other than day and date and those third-party day and date games? That's not something that reads to me as, hey, we're not really scared of Game Pass. That looks like you are actually fucking frightened of it and that you're trying to get ahead of it because you know that's the future. And you know that despite what you guys want, because Sony wants to have that classic type console war, which is you buy our console, we have exclusivity, we buy exclusivity games and third-party rights to certain things, and this is the best place to play. And now they're getting away from that because Game Pass is, hey, you play where you want to play. If you want to play on Xbox, by all means, go ahead, play on Xbox. If you want to go and continue on your PC and leave exactly where you left off, by all means, go ahead. If you want to go and play on your Samsung TV or your phone or on the browser and can just continue exactly where you left off, no matter what device you're at, all yours. And that is the thing that Sony is frightened of. That is what they're afraid of because they're not really good at doing services. They're good at doing consoles, but services is where they kind of fall flat on their face, and they know that. And what's crazy is they even stated here that they're currently at 50 million PlayStation users, PlayStation Network users, which is false. They have actually, once they revamped the service, they ended up losing over 2 million users. They were at 48 million, and now they're going down to 46 million. And what's crazy about that, right, is that those numbers are even artificially inflated themselves. They're comparing PlayStation Network to Game Pass, and they are completely different. Like, obviously PlayStation Network is the Game Pass competitor, but it's nothing like Game Pass. You don't get cloud gaming. You don't get day and date first party exclusives. You do not get third party games added to the service a day and date. You don't get any of that. You get older titles as they like reshuffle them out every now and again. And you do get a lot of access to great games. I'm not going to deny that. They have some great selections over there in PlayStation Network, and they also have all their first party games after a set amount of time on their service. And of course, PlayStation has great exclusives. I'm not going to deny that. But you're not getting the same value, because by the time those PlayStation exclusives do come out, everyone has already played them to the point where no one really cares about them anymore. And whenever you see things like what's going on with Microsoft and their exclusives, you see things like Grounded having 15 million plus players. You have things like Forza Horizon reaching 20 million. You have Halo Infinite reaching 25 million active users. That is fucking crazy. And you're not going to get that with those single player games. And that's what Sony wants. And that's why they're trying to mimic this. But you're comparing PlayStation Network, which is a service that you just lumped everybody into, and are saying, look at how well we're doing because we no longer have a detachment of these tier systems. No, we just lumped everybody into it, and those are our users now, which is horse shit. That is a bunch of fucking horse shit. That's like if Xbox took everyone from Xbox Live, forced them into Game Pass, and then said, look, we have like 50 million users in Game Pass, and it's like not true whatsoever. You have far more Xbox Live Gold members than you do have Xbox Game Pass members. That is just facts. That is just how it is. And these things are separate, and they need to be maintained as being separate. And even then, they go and they talk about how low the Game Pass numbers are. They said they're in the low 20s, which is so off. It's like he's not even aware of what's going on around him, because they went, and Microsoft's last official number was 25 million Game Pass subscribers. And during the CMA response, PlayStation went to them and said, yeah, we assume right now that they have 29 million. So how can you go and say, okay, they're at 29 million, and then go to your people behind closed doors and say, hey, look, we think they're in the low 20s? It's like, which is it? Are you involved in any of this that's going on? Do you understand what is happening? Or are you guys just throwing fucking shit numbers out there to the FTC and the CMA to try to get this deal canceled because you are fucking frightened? That's what it seems like. That's such a fucking scummy thing, right? It's just that. Is that they just they are so detached from reality that they just are just making shit up as they go. And hopefully things just stick and they could play whatever narrative that they want. And that's exactly what they're trying to do. They're trying to make it look like Game Pass is not really that scary to their people, because they don't want those people leaving and causing them to lose money, lose their market share, because people are going to move into Xbox. They don't want that. But because they're going over to the FTC and the CMA and they're trying to cry wolf because, hey, you know what? Try to get it canceled, because we don't want Call of Duty and Game Pass. We don't want that. Because, you know, if Game Pass wasn't actually scary, why would you fucking care if Call of Duty was in Game Pass? No, you know what will happen, and that's why you're fucking terrified. But I also want to talk about something, which is the tail end of this, is the monthly active users. That is the real dedication. That is what shows you how successful your console is. And what I mean by that is, yes, you can sell consoles. You can sell hundreds and millions of consoles, but that doesn't matter if no one is playing on that console, right? Like if you go and you look at Switch has like 117 million users or something, maybe even more. And I own a Switch. I've bought in 3 Switches in my lifetime since Switch has been around. Because I've either sold one, gave one to my sister, and I bought one just to have again. But I don't ever play that. I don't ever go and buy anything. I'm not a part of their subscription service. I own a PlayStation 5. I don't have PlayStation Network. Like, that's not what Sony wants. Sony doesn't want me to buy their console at a loss and then never use it and only bring it out once in a blue moon to play their exclusives. No, they want me to constantly be on there. They want me to play my multiplayer games on there. They want me to do all my microtransactions on there. They want me to buy DLC. They want me to buy third-party games, because everything that you're buying on there, they get a cut. And that's what they want. And so by having more monthly active users, that means that you have more people looking at you and more money revenue coming in monthly. And the same goes for Xbox, right? Xbox is my main platform, obviously. So that's where I spend most of my time, and that's where I buy all my third-party games. So whenever, you know, they get the money, Xbox is taking a cut. But that brings me to the point of monthly active users per each console. So if you look at how many active users are on PlayStation compared to how many monthly active users are on Xbox, it's actually pretty surprising. So up on the screen, I have what Xbox Live numbers are for monthly active users, and this is from January 2016 to December 2020, and this is the most up-to-date thing that I could find regarding their numbers. So it might be higher, it might be lower, I'm not sure, but they have not given us that information. And this is from Statista.com. So as of December 20th, Microsoft has 100 million monthly active users. Now, I don't really know how they get that number because there's not 100 million Xbox consoles, so I don't know if they consider Game Pass and they consider PC as part of that. I'm not really too sure, but that's the number that we're going with, 100 million. All right, 100 million users for the Xbox monthly active users for Xbox Live. Now, if you go over to PlayStation Network, as you can see, they are currently at, this is of September 2022, they are at 102 million users. Now, going back to December of 2020, which is what Xbox was currently at for the last up-to-date number, we have December 2020, 114 million users. So when you compare those two, right, like obviously 14 million users compared over Xbox is a big difference, but in the grand scheme of things, it's really not that big of a difference because of how many more consoles PlayStation has. It's actually very impressive that Xbox has that many monthly active users when PlayStation has more than double the amount of consoles sold. So that is right there, the direct comparison of how many people are actually using their consoles, and per capita, it seems that Xbox users use their Xbox more than PlayStation users use their PlayStation. And that is also something that Sony does not want. They want more monthly active users. They want more people over on their service. So this is, I don't know. I like, so there's a part of me that thinks that Sony is actually terrified of this. And I think they are. I think that they are scared of the possibility of what Game Pass can do in the grand scheme of things, and how if this goes unchecked, then they are really going to have a lot of catching up to do. And because they have not focused on that part of their infrastructure, that they instead started moving towards the live service route, and they're still going towards the big single player IP that we all know and love of Sony. And now they're moving out into trying to distribute more of their shows and movies so that way they could get even more people involved. That is their strategy going forward. And in order to prevent that from happening, because when you look at what Xbox has on the other side, they have RPGs, they have first-person shooters, they have multiplayer, they have MMOs, they have like so much going on, they have so much different variety going on, that this is actually something that Sony can't compete with, because they have only streamlined their service to be one thing, and because you could go to Xbox and get so much more. Now, I don't know if you'd rather have a master of none or a master of one here, but they provide a nice palate cleanser on Xbox where you have so much you could possibly do. And I think because of that, because of Game Pass allowing people to truly explore and discover other tastes in games that you never really thought you might have liked, that is opening avenues to other game developers to actually create more games and be even more dynamic with their thinking and be more spontaneous and inventive and imaginative. This allows that to happen because you get to see how well certain games are doing. Now we got to see how well High on Life was. High on Life exploded, and now everyone is clamoring like, hey, can we get a second one? Hey, is this going to lead to a Rick and Morty game? Are these guys going to handle Conquer? There's so much going on with Squanch Games now because of the success that was found on Game Pass. That does not happen without Game Pass. Like, people might not buy the game because like, okay, why am I going to buy the game? Like, I could just watch all the jokes on TikTok, on YouTube. Like, I don't really need to play it myself. But Game Pass allows that to happen. And that's what Sony is afraid of. Sony is afraid of change, and they're afraid of growing their market to a different set of individuals because they already know what they are and they know that they could do it well, but they're too afraid to branch out because everything that they've tried to branch out in has kind of fallen flat on its face. And so because of that, they're just sticking with those same type of games. And hopefully this deal goes through, and hopefully Xbox, hopefully PlayStation get their head out of their ass and compete. So what do you guys think? Do you think that Sony's actually terrified of Game Pass, or do you think that they're just saying that in order to appeal to their investors? Let me know in the comment section below. Thank you guys for stopping by. I hope you guys had a great Christmas, and now we're on to the new year, which is kind of weird because we're in that weird limbo of like just coming off of like Christmas break, going into the new year, and kind of just are like done with it. You just want the year to be over, so that way we could get back and start playing some great fucking games in 2023. So thank you guys for checking me out. Be sure to hit that subscribe button if you want to see more content like this, and I'll be seeing you guys on the next one. And remember, take it easy.